Hey there, it's Kirsten, just documenting that yes, indeed, the Permagrin does continue. This morning I ran my second public 5K race and had a really great time in a crowd of over 6,000 people, and cut some time off and feeling really, really good about that. I've been doing a lot of thinking while I've been running. There's something about that being out on the path alone with those plugs in, and it's a lot of time in your head, and I've been doing a lot of reminiscing about other times in my life when I have felt an incredible sense of pride, and times when I haven't. And one of the several people have asked, well, this high is so huge. Have you ever been this in this place before? And when I think about that, I really do feel like there was that a sense of pride on a similar level, or a sense of accomplishment in the coming out process. And um, and I'm going to say the process. It certainly wasn't something that was a summer worth of training and then ended up with a race and feeling like $1 million there. It was a really long and arduous thing. I mean, I was 34 years old when I came out. I worked really hard in my 20s to marry a young man who was amazing. He was a wonderful guy, and I just couldn't do it. Uh, so it's the process itself was really an enormous thing, and and that's coming to terms with my sexuality is one of the struggles that got in the way with my weight loss. When I look back on my life and my childhood, I always struggled with weight. Weight is something that is connected to and eating is connected to pain and distress for me. I'm an emotional eater, and I've experienced a lot of those things, a lot of pain and a lot of ups and downs in my growing up. Um, One of the things that for a long time was a real defining piece for me, that I've had to work a whole lot on and spent a lot of time in my 20s and my 30s hammering out, is that I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. And um, the lack of self-confidence, the low self-worth, the abysmal self-esteem, you know, a kid's self-worth is really compromised in those kinds of situations, and mine certainly was. I really, really struggled, and acted out quite a bit. Was pretty tough, pretty rough and tumble growing up. I The weight comes in those situations because you want to be bigger. It's a safety thing. The weight comes because you want to hide. You want to get as far from the truth and who you think you are, because you believe that it's about you, when really it's about the adult that's making that decision for you in those cases. And so size really became survival for me, um, as far as emotionally. Anyway, so I had really worked that, like, really have spent a great deal of time with that, and then I had my gastric bypass, and I was feeling really comfortable because I thought, okay, I've really worked that. I connected my food and things to childhood pain, and then after I had lost about 100 pounds, I was out on the West Coast visiting a very good friend of mine, someone who's walked with me through a whole lot, and we were talking, and I found myself really struggling with feeling like I was going to fail, that I was going to fail at this weight loss because I had failed at every other form of weight loss attempt. I'd been on every frickin' diet known to man. I mean, just I had failed and failed and failed, and I was feeling like I was going to fail this time too. And I was moving into that mode of sabotage, and a lot of us do that. I was guilty of it again and again and again, and quite frankly, still struggle sometimes with that. And I could tell that I was on the verge of sabotaging this. And my friend Sarah, God bless her, said, "What is it? What's still out there? What's still hanging in there? What are you not facing?" And it was in that moment that I was able to verbalize it. And uh, when it came out of my mouth, I mean, it wasn't a revelation for me. I knew for myself, had for years and years and years, but I'd actually allowed it to become spoken word. And when I said that I was gay, I it was this huge relief because I had actually been able to finally verbalize that last piece, the last pin in there, holding my, my lack of confidence together and things. I don't know. Anyway, when I left there, and I tell you, it was a rough few days. I did an awful lot of crying and a lot of figuring it out and talking, and but I had to come home to Minnesota and figure out, okay, how am I going to cope with this? What am I going to do? I've now spoken it, therefore I need to own it and take it and let it be what it is and figure out what that meant for me. And in that time that I was working it out, I met this amazing woman, this amazing woman who had become my wife. Certainly for Ginny and for me, it wasn't something we expected. If those of you who have seen pictures know that Jen and I are of two different generations, and yet we fell in love, and it is the kind of the rest of the story is there. So 4.5 years ago, we had a commitment ceremony, and 140 of our friends and family came to celebrate with us and to be with us as we made this declaration. Not only to each other, but to our friends and to our family. And that moment right there, that moment was the climax of the highlight of that whole process, the end of that journey. And I smiled a whole lot that week. I will tell you that. I smiled a whole lot that week. Anyway, I say this because, I've been focusing on the why of why I'm doing this. And I think it's important for us to look at the whys and the hows that we got where we got to, and I've been thinking a lot about some things that I've heard recently in trainings and things, and it's so important that we envision our future, that we look ahead and we see where we're going, and I've started to really get a handle on that. And am really beginning to see that which I want to see happen. And so for me, it's things like business, and it's my weight loss. I have a goal. I have a picture in my mind, and I see it, and I'm chasing it. There's no doubt it will be mine. And I have come to realize that I'm a runner, and I'm owning that, and I have some plans for more, and that's exciting too. So we've got to be able to see it before we can see it, meaning envision it before we can actually have it come to fruition. So anyway, for those of you that are out there that are struggling with the things of the past, that still, and you're allowing them, or they're large enough that they just seem to still get in the way, be true to you. Be real, be honest, throw it all out there. You're not alone. I'm not alone. And so be true to you, be honest, be real. And I have to just say that's in doing that, that's where the real freedom has come.